Welcome to Tekedia Daily. I'm Ndubuisi, Ekekwe. Our conversation today will focus on mentorship and why you need a business mentor in order for you to actually navigate the business ecosystems in Africa comfortably. And I also share a perspective, an insight, a case study, how legendary banker and philanthropist Tony Elumelu helped me as I was setting up Zenvus. When they talk about mentoring, you need to understand that this is not just one of those complexities and processes you see in any business environment. You need a mentor who has a better insight or a better perspective, basically, than you, in order to essentially get into this process of building businesses with lesser risk. Business is about reduction of friction that exists between the buyer and the seller. And there are people that have great skills in understanding how those frictions can be effectively managed. It's not a question of who is the most intelligent man. I can tell you, if you go to universities, you find some very great professors, but if you ask them to run a business, you begin to see the difficulties they find themselves. So having a mentor will help you also develop your leadership, because you can inspire to be like that mentor. You can inspire to emulate that mentor. You can also begin to do things the way that mentor does things. It reduces risk, because if you are lucky to ask him or her, can tell you, I did this thing 5 years ago. It didn't work out. And there is nothing that says trying the same mistake again can work. Of course, understanding your business environment is one of the cardinal aspects of competitive advantages in firms, in business cycles, in business ecosystems. So doing that will require working with people who actually understand it, because these are people that have actually built something that had real impact in those specific business environment. So finding a mentor is not just about getting a friend or getting someone who likes you. It's actually finding someone who can deliver value to you in that business challenge you are facing. I like a book, The Richest Man in Babylon. It was written around 1929, 1930. It explained that, you need to get to the best possible person at anything or at any point or at any moment you are trying to do something, because that is the best possible person that can actually help you get to the best possible solution. So if you're building a business, you need to have a mentor who demonstrates a capacity to help you make progress in your business. I have very great opportunity to know Mr. Tony Elumelu, and I read his writings, I watch his videos, I listen attentively to whatever he says, because out of those things, I find a lot of insight. I find a lot of perspectives, and actually figure out that I cannot be making mistakes if I follow them, because he has actually demonstrated over and over again that those things work. And I recall vividly during the year 2 section of the Tony Elumelu Entrepreneurship Program, all of us were in Lagos, and he was in the section of question and answer. A young man asked a question about power electricity business in Nigeria. He gave one of the most important answers I've ever heard about that. At the end of the day, the summary is that if the guy had taken what he said, that guy will be awesome today. I essentially understand that construct, that when you see a man who had built so many companies in different sectors, this is not a theoretical thing. He shares insights really from his life experiences. And that was one of the things he did in Warren Business School a few years ago. And it's always a very great moment getting back to my notes about that specific presentation he made. So, but I want to tell you something here about the power of mentorship. May 28, 2015, then President-elect Muhammadu Buhari was going to be inaugurated as the Nigerian president the next day. So we had this kind of a transitioning process. What is going to be the next phase of the Nigerian nation? I read a draft of his inaugural speech. I had some difficulties understanding exactly where we are going. I own my small business, and we do very well. We hire people, we create employment for people, and we've been doing well. But I needed to understand what the next game will be in this new administration. And if you look at that inaugural speech, he wrote, we tend to attack the problem frontally through the revival of agriculture. He wrote agriculture first. So, wow, if this man had noted agriculture first, it's a possibility that he was going to push heavily in agriculture. But I also had some confusions, some things that needed to be clarified, because agriculture cannot work in isolation. One of his staff, Tony Elumelu staff, told me that he was coming into Abuja. I crashed in, and he wasn't having a dinner in Transcorp. I quickly got in. I discussed with him, had a very great, wonderful 15 minutes of his time. And he dropped some very, very important insights. I'm not going to tell you because those ones are now my intellectual property. Unfortunately, he gave it to me free, but I'm now holding it as my IP. So I got a plan, and that plan was so awesome that I didn't even bother to go for the for the next day inauguration because I was working on improving the business plan and then making sure that I put in place something that as soon as I get back to the United States with my team, we are going to refresh our strategy in order to make sure that we can deliver a solution that will be very, very successful in that space in Africa. So Zenvus was born, and in northern Nigeria right now, we have about nearly 3,000 part-time, full-time staff working in different areas. In short, this Monday, we're going to have the governor, Kebbi State, also starting up a new project. Awards everywhere from OCP Africa in Morocco to Washington, D.C., all over the world. We have this great business where we are earning real revenue. But I'll tell you something that if not for that opportunity that I have met a business mentor who provided a very catalytic insight, it's very, very critical. We would have actually done something that would not have made it very, very easy for us to scale. It is not just about having a business. It's actually building a foundation based on the challenges inherent in the Nigerian business climate in order for you to grow into something great. But I'll tell you something. As you speak with these leaders, never do one thing. Never ask them for money. I think it's really very rude. See a man, you start telling him you need money. Why will you do that? Focus on getting ideas from them. And by the time you get before them, be prepared. Make sure that any possible question they will ask you, you are prepared to give them an answer. Don't tell them tomorrow, sir, I am coming back with the answer, because you won't get access to him tomorrow. You don't have to waste his or her time. You have to be very concise. And you must demonstrate that even that conversation must offer something of value to him or her. He can learn even when he's trying to inform and educate you. I had a great moment with Aliko Dangote when I sent him an email a few years ago on something. He actually replied. Well, he was tired, a very long one. And of course, I wasn't asking for money. I never do that. But I was during the formative years when we are trying to get into business outside Nigeria, working with countries in Rwanda, Botswana, Swaziland, and I just needed someone to essentially help me how you can navigate all these things. And we still have that reply. And just like I have an opportunity to send an email to Mr. Tony Elumelu, and he gives me an insight. I want to tell you, as you go back to your business as an African entrepreneur today, look for a mentor. I tell you, if you look for a mentor, not someone that will agree with everything you want to do, but somebody that actually makes effort to understand what you want to do and help you, you'll be a very better businessman or woman. I wish you the best of luck. You're listening to Tekedia Daily.